Yeah, so it's really interesting, but there's another guy that's kind of been in the spotlight, but I keep on thinking that he hasn't really fought anybody. I'm talking about Janibek Alimkhanuly, who will be fighting as well, straight up on the money line. He's a minus 1250, Brian, against Vincenzo GUALTIERI. There's a reason for that, who is a plus 630. Brian, how do you see this fight going, and do you have a long breakdown for this one?
I don't have a long breakdown for this one, but I do have a breakdown for this one. I thought Vincenzo Gualtieri was going to lose his last fight, and that was for the vacant IBF middleweight title. This is going to be his first fight. My understanding is away from Germany, so that's going to be interesting to look out for. And Janibek, while I think he's very good, very skilled, I think you're a little bit higher on him than I am.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason I'm not as high on him as some other people is because, one, I want to see him fight somebody at his level. I expected him to put away Denzel Bentley quickly, especially after Felix Cash did it in 3 rounds. He did not do that. Denzel Bentley did not only last all 12, but won probably 4 rounds or so against him. And on top of that, the middleweight division, as I often say, I was looking through this, Chantel.
Yeah.
This is the worst the middleweight division's been in my lifetime. Because if you look through the champions of the middleweight division from, and my lifetime dates back to 1994, and I probably started watching boxing, 97, 98, 99, because I caught the end of the Felix Trinidad run, because I'm Puerto Rican, that's what we did. And you're talking about, well, Trinidad for one was a middleweight champion. Bernard Hopkins was a middleweight champion. Oscar De La
Mhm.
Hoya, Jermaine Taylor, Kelly Pavlik, on and on and on. And you go through recent years, and it's like, look at who's at the top of the middleweight division now. No disrespect, but I think this is the weakest the talent pool has been. And I think the division is waiting for someone to go ahead and grab it, and nobody truly is. So we'll see. But ultimately, I think Janibek minus 1250 is a lot. On DraftKings, it's minus 1800, which is also a lot. And honestly, I think that I expect kind of a Janibek Denzel Bentley type of performance. I think Janibek is going to win this on points at plus 250. I'm rolling with the decision here. Vincenzo Gualtieri has never been stopped. To my knowledge, hasn't been dropped, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I watched all of his other 22 or so fights in Germany throughout his career. I've seen a few, but not every single one. So I don't know if he's been dropped. And BoxRec
Yeah.
won't clarify that necessarily, but I think that he can survive this. I think if Janibek gets a stoppage, it's going to be late, rounds 7 through 12, which last I checked was in that plus 155 or so range, or whatever the case may be. But I think there's a lot of value on a decision here, and I think it's realistic because I think while Janibek is good and maybe should get him out of there, he's facing a tough opponent. And I think that he needs a great performance to assert himself in what I think is a very weak weight class right now. So maybe he does that, but I think this is a tougher test than people are giving credit for.
Yeah, I think when we take a look at Janibek and his career, that fight against Denzel Bentley coming into it, I figured Denzel Bentley would give him some problems, but I didn't know that Janibek wouldn't get the stoppage in that fight. I was like, isn't he supposed to get the stoppage? Isn't that why they kind of put that fight together for him? But then again, he came back, great performance against the Canadian Stephen Butler, right? Great performance.
Who
And
should
that's
not have gotten a title shot at all.
no, but you know what? It was still a great performance, and don't hate on my fellow Canadian
I
over
was just
there,
saying,
right?
like, that was a
So
gross mismatch. I don't know
very,
how
very
he
much
got
so.
that title shot, but you know.
Shout out to Stephen Butler though. Come on the show. You know what I'm saying?
Referee
Listen,
didn't protect him well enough in that fight either.
they
Took
should
a
have stopped
couple
that fight.
unnecessary shots. So that's why I thought it was a mismatch. So it is what it is.
But for a guy like Janibek, I think he has all the attributes to be very dominant in the ring. And we saw what he did against Stephen Butler, even though despite the fact that it was a mismatch, I actually think this fight is a mismatch. Because I've taken a look at Galtieri's fights as well against Falcao. Listen, this guy, he does have skill, but not enough against someone like Janibek. He barely has any head movement. He gets hit a lot. I'll give him the fact that he has a nice straight right. He has a nice left hook, but even then, there's no pop. He has no power, and he gets hit a lot. Janibek is going to come and hit him with nasty uppercuts, and it's going to be game over because he gets hit in the face all the time. He's not protecting himself, and he's kind of flat footed. I feel like
He's kind of awkward too, though. You don't think his awkwardness is
oh
going to be
no,
a little bit of an issue for Janibek?
I think Janibek is going to be walking him down, and I think that Gualtieri is going to be getting popped in the face time after time because his head movement is borderline terrible against a guy like. If Janibek doesn't get a knockout or stoppage in this fight, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed, and then I'm going to hop off the Janibek train. I'm just gonna get off of it because he should stop this guy when you just talk about skill set. And it's no disrespect to a guy like Gualtieri because, listen, like you mentioned, you know, this is his first fighting away from Germany, right? So already that's already a big, massive deal for him. And he's gonna be on the main event. Like this is huge for him, and he does have skill. And I said he does have a nice straight right and a nice left hook. But other than that, like when you talk about skill set, I don't think he stands a chance in this fight. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to go alternate betting rounds 1 through 6 plus 340 because the way that Gualtieri leaves himself exposed, Janibek is going to make him pay. So I'm going to take him to get the knockout plus 340. Lots of value there. Bryan's pick, I'm not mad at that. I just, listen, Gualtieri, like the head movement bothers me. I could even see it being round 7 through 12, but the fact that the guy's not protecting himself and getting popped in the face by Falcao that much, I was like, it's game over. Like I'm watching the highlights last night, right? I'm like, I'm not going to take any notes for this. That's how I prepare. I'm not taking. I'm just gonna watch his highlights again and check it out. And I'm just like, he doesn't stand a chance, man. And if Janibek does not knock him out, and it's like the Butler performance, which you kind of foreshadowed it could be, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I'm
almost like what we're basically telling the people. What we're telling y'all is this is either going to be a Stephen Butler Janibek performance or a Denzel Bentley Janibek performance with little room for in between. It's either going to be a quick knockout where he proved
yeah.
that he's the boogeyman, so to speak, in the division, or it's kind of like, hey, he didn't put away Vincenzo GUALTIERI, which, and I'll say this too, as far as like unification bouts, because this is a unification bout, we should mention.
Yeah.
Janibek has a title and Vincenzo GUALTIERI has a title. Not the most headline popping unification bout this sport could put forth. But I will be watching. I just, I kind of want more from the middleweight division. I want more from everybody at 160 because this division needs a jolt badly. So if this could become even a fight of the year candidate, which I don't foresee, that would be great. But I think we both have this being relatively one-sided,
Yeah.
just with two completely different endings.
So we're gonna see who's right. By the way, if you have any comments on any of these fights, how you're gonna be betting, drop them in the chat. We want to hear from you.